This is one of those sponsor videos where I tell you to buy Dehancer and use my code WASABI for a 10% discount. I don't want to do that because it's just everyone does the same thing. I'm just going to tell you what's more important than using Dehancer. So right away I will tell you the most important thing is to use good lighting. If you want to achieve the film look, I would say first concentrate on that before going into emulations. So the things that I like is that you have many different emulations. So most of the time I use Kodak stock, Kodak Vision, but you have many options. So DaVinci has the film look, but it doesn't have the same options. Dehancer has a way to change the print, and that's very powerful. I think I really like how that changes the exposure. With Dehancer only, you can do a lot of stuff. With film look on DaVinci, you still have to use a lot of stuff from DaVinci and know more how to use it. That's also one of the pros, is that it's easy to use. And also I like that you can export LUTs directly from the plugin. That's been a game changer for me to look at how everything looks on camera. There are things that I don't like or things that they could improve. Adding grain takes a lot of CPU power, so that's why I do it at the end. For this video, for instance, I'm talking to the camera, so I know if I record 20 videos like this, they're all going to have the same look. As soon as I import them into the timeline before cutting them, in the color tab, I group them into one group. That way I can apply the same look into all of the clips at once. I can chop them and it's okay because I just have to change it in one place. That way I can refrain also from adding grain until the end, because if I add grain, then the CPU takes a toll. Another thing is that I wish you could save presets inside Dehancer. Like I use DaVinci and you have the power grades. That's great. I have my set of power grades with Dehancer inside, and then I can do that. But I wish inside Dehancer you also had like a different preset. So that's why I have Ableton Live here. This is a software to make music. This is the concept I'm thinking about. This down here is what would be a note. I can add stuff here, and this is a note. It's a similar concept, but on Ableton. And then you have Serum, so I could save this, and then it would save whatever I have inside the synth. But the great thing is that this synth also has presets, and that's independent of this. I can still save the note as a power grade, let's say, but the presets are here inside. I think that would be better because sometimes if you have different power grades and then you have Dehancer, you could reuse those. It would be a system within Dehancer for presets. I don't know why is the way it is. Maybe I'm missing some things. There's a feature I don't use much. I just wish you had more customization, that you could put it anywhere and you only have the presets. That's a minor thing. And then the other thing is like the price of this product is really high. But I think you're getting a lot of different looks. So you can go and look at different versions, and maybe if you only use the Kodak Vision and all that stuff, maybe you find like a better deal. And the reason why I accepted the sponsor is because I bought this with my own money and I'm using it. Oh, and this is a very, very annoying thing for me. When you select films, you have to go to the drop down and then select them with your mouse. I wish there was a way for me with the keyboard, with just pressing down, go next, 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 next. It's very difficult to explore different looks because of the way the UI works. I don't know if that's DaVinci to blame or what, but I wish you had a better, easier way to move through different looks. So yeah, those are the pros and cons based on my experience. This is how we went from the ceiling lights to this. Lighting is everything. This is my room without any lights, my room with the ceiling lights, but we don't want those. We want video lights like this one and another light. We could use a warmer kind of light, also warm light to light me up, and just a faint one to fill the shadow here. You can also do this. This adds a bit of contrast because that's colder and this is warmer. I usually shoot with 5600K white balance on my camera, and then I set all the lights accordingly. Everything is in manual and everything is fixed, and then I put the lights around that. And I think that's the best thing you could do. But because this is not a movie, I actually like going for the obvious look, and it's like blue. I like that the spotlight spills into the rest of the room. So yeah, this is not the cinematic look, but it does look better than before with the regular lights. Another thing that helped me a lot with getting the right exposure and seeing what's going to look like in the end is using LUTs. I exported the LUT from Dehancer and then I put it on my Sony ZV-E1, and then I can see how it's going to look like. So even now I'm looking at my computer screen where I see how this is going to look like, and I see the final kind of look. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be very close to the look, at least the colors. It's not going to have like the grain and all that stuff. And this helped me a lot with exposure. I still shoot in S-Log 3. I don't bake in this look. This LUT is just to see how it's going to look like, but then the camera is still recording in S-Log 3. So you capture most of the range that the sensor can capture in S-Log 3 10-bit. And then when I import it in DaVinci, I apply the LUT that I know I'm going to apply. Like usually I start with the same base and then I tweak from there. So yeah, I'm going to show you how I do it with Dehancer. So yeah, let's take a look. Okay, so this is DaVinci Resolve, and this is something I captured recently. It looks really flat because it's shot on S-Log 3. So I guess the first thing you could do, create a Rec 709. So I created one already. I had the visual LUT. That's why it's a bit overexposed, because with the LUT I can see how it's going to look like, and I think that was how it looked the best. Something that happened to me before using a display LUT is the footage would be underexposed. There's one thing I learned that it's really helpful for DaVinci. If you're in the color tab, you can press Shift F, and then you can see these in full screen. I also use different versions of grading, so that way that's how I can show you how it looks with Dehancer, with the DaVinci film look, in Rec 709, in S-Log 3. You can press Shift F to see it bigger, but then you can also press Command B and N. I guess that will be Control on Windows, so I can go back and see Rec 709. We can go and take a look at the Dehancer one by pressing Command N. This is the DaVinci look, so we can go back and forth. Okay, so let's start from scratch with Dehancer with the new node. So this is my image. I would not do any different nodes. I would just put Dehancer, and then if we want, we can do Shift F so we can see everything. So right off the bat, what I will do, if you don't have it yet, then you'll have to do the license, check the profile so it downloads all the stuff. But what I do is I disable everything, so everything is off. There's no effects or anything. And then we have to do the input. We can choose the camera, and this is a Sony. We can use Apple Log for iPhones. So we can go here. I'll select the ZV-E1 and the Cine. So right off the bat, this is very bright, but I'm not going to change this. So this exposure, this is very linear, and it's not like you would do it on film. So I would just leave this as this, and then I would select first the film and the print. So usually I go with Kodak in both cases. I mean, sometimes I got creative, but usually I go with this too. It makes sense that it would be 50D. If you don't know that, it's daylight, and T is for tungsten, D is for daylight exterior. Although sometimes because of a certain look, you may use the other one. So I was saying you could do here and change exposure. The problem is that this is very linear. The way I would do it is I would go to the print. I have a film that it's overexposed, so now I'm going to underexpose it. And if you can see, it behaves differently. So I go all the way up, all the way down. But if I go to the exposure, you'll see like it changes everything. So maybe here in this case, I would go like a little bit here, like expose a bit lower, and then nail it here. So like it's not that dramatic because it was really overexposed. But it's okay because I had an ND filter. I just wanted to maintain the speed shutter at 50. So that's why it's a bit overexposed. And then from here, you'll see it looks more like film. as opposed as to just changing the exposure there. Then you have the tonal contrast. I would look like this. Sometimes that's all I do. Like basically, if you just want a clean look, you don't want like any crazy stuff. But in this case, highlights are a bit blown up. For these, I would use film compression. Makes it look like film because film has this rollout on the highlights. So you would go here and just total tonal range. Yeah. So it affects a lot of things on the picture. So maybe it's a bit crazy. The white point is like the place where it starts doing the roll off. The white point is the place where it starts the rollout. Like obviously this is like too crazy, but it was just a demonstration of how the white point works. I don't know. Sometimes I don't think too much about how things work and more like I focus on what is the look that I'm going for. You can also take a look at the scopes. I usually don't look at them that much. I just take a look and go back here. Here you have film developer. I don't feel like that's necessary. Sometimes I go like a bit tweak here and there. The problem with the color boost is that sometimes, especially on the lips, I'm guilty of this in older videos where my lips look very red. And that's because I went a bit crazy with the color boost because maybe, I don't know, I'm shooting something with reds and it looks crazy and looks really good, but it doesn't look that good when you have a face, stuff like that. I like the yellow bits here, but I don't like how I look. So maybe this is the case where you could use a mask and stuff like that, but then you're like, that's more creative. That's not like the film look as a whole. Well, here you have the color head. You can tweak the shadows. Like let's say maybe I want to have like bluish tones here, and then on highlights I want them to be more warmer, like to have like a bigger contrast. Maybe the shadows, a little bit of blue can look cool in this case because it makes this gray area more gray. Yeah, I think that looks okay to me. The film grain, the only problem I have with this is my Mac. This is a Mac Studio M2 Max. It's powerful, but if I enable this, it starts to stutter when I play back. So I usually leave this at the end. Sometimes I even edit the whole video and then I add the grain if I want to at the end. Then you have halation. So right off the bat, you see that it's kind of mixing the colors together. You still, even if you don't see what's going on, like if you see here the scopes, do you see like it's something is going on? This is a bit like the film grain. If I go to 0, I know that if I enable it, you may not really notice a lot in the image, but it's still there. Halation and bloom, these are very classic effects on cinema, but I never go that crazy. I go with 65 millimeters to make like a subtle effect. Like if you have lights at the background, maybe that looks cool if you put a lot of bloom, stuff like that. And then there's other effects like film damage at 65 millimeters where it's very, very subtle. So you see a scratch here and there. Maybe this is something you could use if you're talking about something that happened in the past. Maybe it happened a few years ago. You have a video. You can add like the 8 millimeters and it's going to look like old film. Then you can add film breath, which is like the light dimming in and out. I think it's more like when you project the image in a cinema, you have a light, and maybe that light, it's not static, it dims, it changes. And then if you have the gate wave, which is like the ultimate, like if you go to 8 millimeters, you'll get the full effect. It's going to crop the image because what it's going to do, it's going to move the image side by side, and you're going to see that everything is moving like this because, it's film, supposed to be film. You can go custom and maybe you can go, I don't know if you can go crazy. And that's like an earthquake. Okay, so that's not, well, maybe you could use that for some reason. But usually I go with all these effects with 65 millimeters. So I don't want them to be really on your face. Or sometimes I don't use film damage because it's a bit too obvious. And then you can add the grain. The grain, I think it looks great compared to other software or the film look in DaVinci, but it takes like a big toll. But I think it looks great. I don't know what it is. If you look at the custom profile, where you can do your own grain instead of what would be normal for a stock. You see, you can do a lot of stuff here. There's a show on Netflix. I know it's not film, and I was thinking this is like Dehancer with the highlights. So the grain is on the highlights. Every time you saw a sky, there would be grain in there, but not so much in the shadows and everywhere else. And I think it's also a cool way to have like maintain the look in the other areas, so it's not that crazy. Then there's things that I only use like for when I'm telling a story, talking about something in the past, barely ever used. What I'm saying is that I don't think you should buy the Dehancer because of this effect. I think you can do it other ways cheaper. Then you have vignette. I think this is the same. It's okay. I mean, it works. This is shot on a zero anamorphic lens, so you need the aspect ratio. Then you have other features like false color. Then you have the output total impact. I never use this, but it's cool to see like before and after. But I never go and say, okay, I just want this half, like 80% or so. I don't feel like that's the way I would work. And then you have the LUT generator. This will export the LUT without effects. This has been a game changer to me because I usually use a similar kind of like what you see here, Kodak Vision and Kodak Print. This has helped me a lot to nail the exposure and stuff like that to see how it looked like. Okay, this is the one I made now, and this is the one I had before. So if you remember, this also has the brightness, the transformation and all of that. And in this case, I decided not to use any of this. Actually, I think it looks good. The reason why you see that it's going in and out is the gate wave. Okay, let's remove that so we can see before and after. I think I like this one the best. Maybe the grain, I could remove it and we are like more in the same range. Yeah, but yeah, you've seen how I made it. So it's not complicated. You just have to be careful of like not going crazy with stuff. So all these shots have the Dehancer. And another thing I do sometimes, if I really want to like, I'm thinking about the movie or something, I've been in shot deck for a while. So then I have shots like on the beach and then you can see, okay, my sky is blown up more like this one. This is from House of the Dragon. Yeah, but you see the blue is different. This is more contrasted. That's really helpful when you don't know how to color grade, what to go for. Just grab one of these and try to match it. See, this is from a Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And you see how it looks like film because it has these highlights and all of the things we talked about. Obviously, it's not the same, but this kind of look that I like, and that's why I got the Dehancer. I said before, if you purchase Da Vinci, you also have the Da Vinci film look. Looks good. The only thing here is that you don't have the stock film. It's not an emulation. So one thing I'm seeing is that with the film look creator, it's almost like you already have to know how to use Da Vinci. So I would not use the film look creator to do everything, but you can get there, like if you want, and then you tweak things and stuff like that. But one thing that I miss from the film look creator, let's go back to the one we created, is the print. I think the print is very powerful to give that final look of the film look. I also used it with iPhone footage. I think the iPhone 16 Pro looks great. The only problem is when you have low light, as soon as you're in a low light environment, I think it falls apart. This is with the ZVE one, with the zero 35 millimeters anamorphic. And as you can see, this is 50D stock and Kodak. And the reason why it looks good, I think it's because of the light. As I mentioned before, you have to get the most out of the light first and learn about the light before going into just LUTs. This is a shot I made in 5 minutes. I only had one light, which is this one. This is a Kodak C5R, and I put this as a warm color, a warm temperature, and then I put it on the side. I think most of the look is because of that environment, that light and all that. The anamorphic also helps. The point is, like, this is Rec 709, and this is my final image. you already have to have some color contrast before going into the LUT, before going into the film look, and before going into Dehancer. I watch a lot of tutorials about Dehancer, about DaVinci, and I think one of the problems is that you see great footage from the get-go. This is the same as when I do music, when I watch YouTube videos about getting autotune, getting effects on the vocals on the song so it sounds better. And usually the source material is already super good and it's already like very clear. The voice is well recorded. The same happens with YouTube videos about this, about coloring, about getting the film look and all of that, is that they already have footage that looks really good. It has color contrast, the light is good and all that stuff. So have that in mind before going into this and thinking, okay, I can do this just because it's Dehancer. No, it's not. It's not Dehancer. Dehancer is the last thing that you put in the chain, but there's a lot of stuff before, like framing, exposure, lights, making sure you shoot in manual, things are not moving around, stuff like that before going into the film look. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that I use Dehancer everywhere. This is a shot from a video I was talking about the gear on my main channel, and I use Dehancer everywhere. Even in this shot, like I'm showing something about the knob, it looks great. But again, this is shot here in this room, and I have the blue and the yellow on the side, like it has contrast, and I think it looks good because of that, and all the lightings. And like this shot here, I shot it with the anamorphic, and I used Dehancer to add the final look. But I already started with a great light, I think. So just have that in mind when going with your look. And yeah, let me know in the comments what do you use to achieve the film look, or where you are in your journey to create the film look or video in general. So I have this second channel for things like this because some people ask me, what camera do you use, or what do you use to shoot this, or how does it look like this, and maybe I can start posting more stuff like this to help other people that are in the same journey as me, that want to make content. They want it to look in a certain way, but they don't know how. So yeah, let me know if you want to know more about it, and see you in the next one. Yeah, see you. Bye-bye.